Hey folks, Rob with Two Guys on a Ride, and boy oh boy, I've got a beautiful vehicle for you today. But before we talk about the car, take just a minute, hit that subscribe button below, become a channel friend, and then hit that bell notification at the top so you never miss a video. And I'm glad you're here because you're not going to want to miss this video. Folks, today I'm with Steve, and this is his 1950 Olds 88 Holiday Coupe. And he's going to tell us about him, his love for this car, and some unique things about this car. Steve, take it away.
Thanks for coming to the Chanhassen Autoplex once again, Rob.
You bet.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
So this is, as Rob said, a 1950 Oldsmobile Holiday 88 Coupe. It's 69 years old. My family grew up owning Oldsmobiles. I've always been an Oldsmobile nut. And I have a 50s garage here at the Automotorplex. And at the Autoplex, and I wanted a 50s car. So last August I found this car on Bring a Trailer, which is, I think, the premier auction website to pick up classic and collector and performance cars. And so I got it last August, so I haven't had it that long. Been to a few shows with it. It's just I love red. That's my favorite color, so I called it the Red Rocket, the Oldsmobile Rocket. We'll talk about some of those features and do a walk around here and get you familiar with the car. But it's a large car. I'm not exactly sure of the total length, but these 50s cars were built big. And this design came out in 1949, the Oldsmobile Holiday, or 88 Holiday Coupe. And what makes it a Holiday Coupe is the open air here. There's no post. There is an Oldsmobile model with a post, but there's no post here. They actually called these hardtop convertibles because when you're in there, you've got maximum glass, you've got the open air feeling of a convertible, you've got the wraparound here, the wraparound rear glass, and minimal pillar here. So you really get the airy sense of a convertible. So that's why a lot of people call them hardtop convertibles. But the official name is Holiday 88 Coupe. Again, there was a model with a post. There was a model with a fastback. So Oldsmobile, like they did, all the GM divisions had different models. There was a convertible in this as well. So what makes this car pretty special, starting in 1949, is the engine. It's a Rocket 303 engine, and it was the first overhead valve V8 produced in the United States. Before that, you had a lot of straight 8s, you had 6s, you know, the GM Stovebolt 6 that they put in a lot of pickups, the Buick Fireball 8, which was a straight 8, but this was a V, but with overhead valves, and Oldsmobile was the first. They built an engine plant just to make this engine. After it came out in 1949-50, all the other manufacturers scrambled to put engines together similar to the Oldsmobile V. The other bit of history is that in 1949 and 50, those were the first 2 years of NASCAR. And this engine dominated NASCAR, won 50 to 60% of the races because of this engine, the Rocket 303. So they called this the Futuramic engine, and that's why you see Futuramic here. There's a lot of little Art Deco touches on this car. Futuramic refers to the engine in the car. Of course, you've got the wide whites on this car, but a lot of little Art Deco touches. You see the ribs in the trim rings on the wheels. You've got on the door handles, you've got more Art Deco there. If you look at the steering wheel and the interior, the Oldsmobile World, the Planet logo was famous with the Saturn ring, and that steering wheel is pretty unusual because it's a plastic. I forget what the name of that plastic was that they had back in the 50s, but it's and most of the ones you find are crazed or cracked, but that one's in really good condition. So there's that Oldsmobile Planet logo.
So like a lucite or something?
Yeah,
or,
it was. I forget the name of it. There was. Yeah, I'll.
It's not plexi, but
No,
it's something. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's almost like a lucite. Yeah,
Right, right.
What they call it today. Then, of course, other styling touches, the rocket on the hood, which refers to the rocket under the hood.
Right, right.
The rocket. So when you're sitting behind the wheel and you see this rocket pointing, that tells you which way to go. Again, the world logo here with Oldsmobile, very detailed.
Well, and the Art Deco in the letters as well.
Yes.
They're not just chrome flat letters, they actually have detail.
Exactly.
Now, going down the highway, imagine you're going to collect some bugs in that world. That must be meticulous kind of trying to clean that out of there.
Maybe a Q-tip or toothbrush in there to get that out. One of the things with eBay, you know, the internet is amazing. I found a set of 1950 Minnesota plates that were unused, still in the Minnesota paper sleeve.
Oh boy.
And I snapped them up because you can register, if these numbers aren't taken, you can register these plates with the car when you get the title.
Really?
So these were unused plates, and they're really attractive with the white and the black.
Yeah.
But that's what the plate scheme was, color scheme was in 1950. So it really worked with this car.
Wow.
So I registered the car with those plates.
This is a great shot. It shows all the beautiful lines on the car. And I was telling Steve earlier, folks, there is not an every angle of this car is complimentary. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's what struck me. I like 50s cars. I was looking for an Olds, and I said, wait a minute, I've got a 50s garage, 50s mobile station. Let's buy this Oldsmobile. So here you've got the 88 on the fins. And this was the later on in the 50s were the big fins. So these were the early fins in the early 50s.
This is a 50, and instead of, it's probably easier because they use these pontoon fenders on other body styles, so they just did the fin out of a chrome piece,
right?
Which made it an easier add-on or subtraction, I guess.
Right.
Now, did all the do you know if this fin was specific to an 88 or?
Other Oldsmobiles had them, but they didn't always have the 88. But,
right.
In 49, 50. And at 50, starting like 51, 2, they kind of had variants of it. But I think these are the attractive fins with the chrome.
Oh, I love them.
And
then the tail lights even have the ribs.
Later on in the 50s, Oldsmobile went to the bullet tail lights that looked like the the bullet.
Right.
And so these were, and then you've got the Rocket 88 here.
Right.
The only modification on this car that has been done is the dual exhaust.
Okay.
This car is no power steering, no power brakes. It's 6 volt, so it wasn't. A lot of guys convert their cars to 12 volt.
Right. So
you got to change all the bulbs.
Yep. And you still got all the generator and not the alternator.
Generator, not the alternator. I'm leaving it. I want to keep this correct. And again, the exhaust was the only.
Right.
You know. Now the trunk.
Oh boy! Good gracious! Look at that room.
It's huge.
Wow.
Robert De Niro would say, you could put 6 bodies in this truck. There are 6 sets of golf clubs.
Right.
There's a lot of room. So, yeah, a lot of room in that.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Trunk. Yeah.
Look at that. Now, do you know the color? The red, the name of the red?
It's called Chariot Red.
Chariot Red.
Chariot Red. It's kind of a...
I think it's fitting.
It's not fire engine. It's more of a, kind of a, people tell me a cranberry.
Okay.
It's kind of
I see that.
Yeah.
Not quite a lipstick, but yeah, it's got a little bit darker in it.
Yeah, a little darker.
Wow. Now, these vinyl, or were they original leather seats?
These are leather and cloth.
Okay, look at that.
Which was, you know, you could get, I think there was vinyl, but when they restored this car in 1985, they wanted to keep it correct. You know, that's why they didn't change the 6 to 12 volt thing. So the interior colors are all the same.
So you would have, it's like a gold color?
Gold, yeah, it's kind of a goldish, yeah. This is kind of a gray green. I'm a little colorblind, but you notice the cluster here. Everything is centrally located.
Right.
And then you've got your wiper and fan controls, lights, hood released. This
parking brake
is the parking brake here. And notice there is no park.
Right.
Okay, so what you do on a hydromatic transmission, you can do it 2 ways. You can put it in neutral, put the parking brake on, or you can put the parking brake on and throw it in reverse, and the reverse locks down the transmission.
How about that?
So there is no P on there, and they didn't have the P for several years.
Now, was the clock original too, though?
The clock is original. Its clock is the only thing that doesn't work on the car.
That was my next question.
I just had the fuel gauge repaired. New sending unit did not work. the heater blower motor did not work. Those are now working.
Okay.
The clocks never work on these things.
Right.
It's
AM radio still
AM
work?
radio works.
Is
yeah.
that right?
Yeah. Radio 830 WCCO.
Okay, so for a lot of people who don't know then, and I grew up with these, I'm old enough to know, the little button on the floor, I've got my daughter here with me today.
Yes.
Anna, you want to take a look at this and give me an idea if you know what this little button on the floor is
Take
for?
a guess what that is.
Right there, the little gold button down there. Take a look. Look inside. And any idea what that is?
No.
Okay.
Is that to open the hood?
No.
Is
Good
it
guess.
this one?
Not a bad guess.
Nope, good guess. Steve, tell us about that.
That is the bright switch for the lights,
Oh.
the high beams
On the floor.
on the floor. So you press that, and the high beams go on, or press it again, and the high beams go back to.
It was always just a simple click.
Yeah.
That's it, right? You
Yeah.
move your foot and
So
click
now it's all on the stock on
Yep.
the cars, but
it.
but we'll open the hood.
Okay, yeah, let's take a look at that rocket under the hood.
The Rocket 303.
Wow, look at that,
There it
folks.
is.
Oldsmobile rocket. Get a shot of that.
Yeah, they
That's
even
beautiful.
put it on the valve covers on the.
Well, they were proud of this because
Yeah.
they were the first.
Yep, that was the first overhead valve V8. So it's an oil bath air cleaner. Generator, not an alternator, because of the 6-volt. Here you see
6-volt
a 6-volt battery.
Right?
And look at the cloth wires.
Wow.
Cloth instead of plastic covered
Right.
wires, cloth. When they redid
Going
this
into your
car,
voltage regulators and
there's
stuff.
the windshield washer bottle over there. No air conditioning on this car. It does have heat. Big radiator.
Right.
But again, these cloth wires are, I think, kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's
And-
really
and
cool. I
kind
didn't
of a
realize you would still have the cloth.
different looking carburetor than you see nowadays.
It
is. Nowadays you see a carburetor with the air cleaner on top. This is the air cleaner behind it.
Well, and this has an oil bath
Right.
air filter as well, air
Right.
cleaner as
Right.
well.
Right.
And then here's the, I guess, build plate, if I can
That's
get that.
that's the VIN plate. Yep.
VIN plate, if I can get
And
that on there.
another thing there too, where it says color, it says special. And the reason that is 99% of these cars were your color choice and then either a white or black top, because they wanted them to look like convertibles with a contrasting top.
Oh,
But
sure.
when this car was ordered, they special ordered it single color, top and body.
I'm glad they did.
Yeah, because I think, to me, the black or white top kind of distracts and
Right.
kind of breaks up the lines of the car.
It does.
And the single color, the Chariot red, I think really makes it. So
But you know, I just noticed a styling feature that they did on this to make it look even more like a convertible. They put this ridge, this chrome ridge here,
Yeah.
to make it look like that is
That-
two
the
separate.
top would fold
now,
back.
right now, I know that is probably still two separate stampings, and that's where
Yeah.
they welded it. But underneath there, you would think it would just unclamp, and then you could take
Right.
the top off. So.
exactly, that's a good point. Yeah.
Right, and then with this V shape here, it looks like you're right. You can just fold the top right down, and
Yeah.
oh, that's
they
so
really
beautiful.
wanted that design take on that. Yeah.
So I've got to ask, I always ask this of all the owners and their cars, what is your favorite thing about this car?
I think the favorite thing is the engine and how
Okay.
revolutionary it was. It was the first of its kind. The V8, it dominated NASCAR.
Yeah.
Oldsmobile was the leader both in that engine and development of the hydromatic automatic transmission. So putting that package together, those
Right.
two things, in a really attractive shell is what struck me. And the little things like the wide whites, you
Right.
know, and you know, these are bias ply tires. That is the other thing I was going to mention.
Okay.
They didn't put radios on this. There's
Right. No,
it's
not
6
until the
volt,
70s, so.
6 volt, no power steering. No, there's no equipment on
So
here.
you're driving it as she is original. I was going to ask you, you've not even, it's still drum brakes all
drum
the way around.
brakes. Yeah, there's.
So you've left it completely. So
Yeah,
where a lot
and-
of people will take and they'll lightly resto mod where
Right.
everything you
They'll
can't
put
see.
disc in the front. They'll put a different front end suspension in it.
Right.
They'll put radial tires, and you
Right.
can get radials that have wide white ones
Right,
on them.
Coker
Look,
and some others
yeah,
will do that.
Diamondback. You know,
But
you can get those.
you've got all period. So
Right.
how far have you driven? What's the furthest you've driven this?
I took it back to the 50s, 2 days at St.
Okay.
Paul,
Okay.
2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And that was, before that I had been to the Waconia for the Nickel Dickle Day shows.
Right.
But 2 days in a row, it's about 30 miles to the fairgrounds, I think, from Chanhassen roughly. So
Okay.
it performed flawlessly. The one thing I might add is with these drum brakes and with no power brakes, you really have to anticipate ahead of you.
Right.
And you have to give a lot of stopping distance because it's a heavy car.
Oh, sure.
And with those old-fashioned brakes and
Yep.
those bias ply tires,
Oh, yeah.
you know, you gotta, if you see something going on ahead of you anticipate it and press it.
Well, it's kind of good. It makes you way more alert as a
Yes.
driver,
Oh,
not
yeah.
just because you want to preserve your pristine vehicle, but because it actually does take
Right.
more to start and stop and go and everything else on these cars. But,
Yeah.
you know, this was almost 70 years ago. This was cutting edge technology in this car.
This was the car to
This
have.
led the way.
Yeah, this was the car to have.
And it led the way, like
Yeah.
you said, on the NASCAR tracks, and it dominated for a few years until
Yeah.
all the other manufacturers,
then they caught up. Yeah.
even in the GM hierarchy, they kind of made Cadillac mad.
Yeah.
They were
Oldsmobile-
first.
Wait a minute, why is Oldsmobile first? We're the top of
They're
that.
lesser-
Chevrolet, Oldsmobile, Buick, Pontiac,
Right,
Cadillac. you know,
right.
so
They
it's
were
like-
two levels down from Cadillac, yet they jumped out
Yeah.
ahead, and they really set the pace for the 50s and arguably for the horsepower wars that really started in the late 50s and all through the 60s.
Yeah, and now granted, the Rocket 303 sounds like a small. It only had 164 horsepower, but
Okay.
it has a lot of torque and it has
Right.
a lot of get up and go.
Right.
But back then, that was a great package.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I mean, you got 500,
right.
454s. You got all these other engines that are
Exactly,
huge,
but on a
back
car-
in the day, that was the package to have.
Exactly.
And
Well, it's the torque that I think most people confuse with horsepower anyway,
Yeah.
because if you're at a stoplight and you stomp it, it's the torque that moves you down the road at so many seconds.
it'll jump this one.
So, and
yeah.
then at the top end is going to be your horsepower and where it peaks and at what RPM. But,
Exactly.
To have that low end torque is phenomenal. And
Yeah.
gosh, this car is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Like I said, I can't find the ugly angle on the car anywhere, and it's a cool car.
Yeah. No.
So
it's been
this one,
fun.
no doubt will stay in your collection for a while.
Oh yes, yeah. I worked hard to find it, and I had a 36 Oldsmobile Street Rod and a 77 442. Two Oldsmobiles I got. You know, I only have room for one car in the garage. Beyond the three I already have, and I got rid of those two to get this. So I'm happy I did. And
Now, do you know original hubcaps?
yeah, those are original.
And
That
even
was-
all the bright work and stains.
Yeah.
So if somebody had really taken care of this car.
Yeah, and it was restored. It was owned. It was from Ohio, stayed in Ohio most of its life, owned by an older gentleman there, and then sold it to a guy that used to take it to Oldsmobile shows around the region,
Okay.
East Coast and so forth.
Okay.
And he had it restored in 1985. And then he passed away years later, and it was in storage for like probably 15 years,
Oh.
20 years.
Oh, wow.
And then the company I bought it from got it out, refurbished it.
Okay.
But before he died, he had it restored in like 1985.
Okay.
But it was in storage, I think, for about 10 years, and then it was refurbished and mechanically able to put on the road.
So as far as you know, it's always been the original color as well,
Yeah,
red.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Because you'll
And-
go through history
yeah.
and sometimes you'll see cars have completely changed in colors and everything else.
It was all cherry, and I've got some documentation from some provenance on it
Okay.
that says that. It was
Oh,
always
good.
cherry and red.
Well, and you've
It
got
was-
the plates. I don't
the
know if they
plates.
still say the colors on there and everything.
Yeah,
So, okay.
yeah, and then so it was repainted the correct red, and yeah, and all the moldings. Never been in an accident as far as I know.
Right.
So, yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
But this is Steve, and this is a beautiful 1955 Oldsmobile 88.
50.
1950, you're right. Okay, 1950 Oldsmobile 88 is where I wanted to double the numbers. Holiday Coupe, and it is phenomenal. Thank you so much,
Rob,
sir,
thank
for
you
sharing.
again. Appreciate it.
Wow, folks, I've been chasing Steve and hounding him for a couple of months now to film this car, because if you're watching this video, you see why. It's a no-brainer. It's a beautiful car. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you again.
sharing it with us.
Okay,
Yes,
thanks for
sir.
coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.